Welcome back, and today we're talking about the Cleveland Browns and what they should be doing with the second overall pick in this year's draft. A couple months ago, I went over the Tennessee Titans and what you should do with them. Now we have Cleveland because now it's a lock for Cam Ward. That I do believe that it's a slam dunk. It's a lock. Cam Ward will be the first overall pick in 2020 the 2025 draft, as we are less than 3 weeks away from that on April 24th. So now with Cleveland, we have the main two with Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. I'm not really going to talk about Shedeur Sanders because I don't think it's a chance at this point. I'd be very shocked if they did select him. So this one's going to be more focusing on the top two prospects, arguably in the draft class, which Pro Football Focus has them at 1 and 2, being Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. I'll kind of give you my comparisons, or not comparisons, but my thoughts on why both of them fit with the teams, what they can excel at, and then at the end of the day, what the better selection is for Cleveland Browns. So start with the Abdul Carter. He was head and shoulders by far the best edge rusher in this draft class. He really had a huge jump in his third year in 2024. If you care about the grades for Pro Football Focus, he had a 91.3, which was a huge jump compared to last year with 69.7. He had 13 sacks, 10 hits, 43 hurries, 1 batted pass. And if you look in the bottom there for the alignment, if you care about that, the vast majority of them were on the edge side or outside of tackle. He can, if you wanted to try and line him up elsewhere on the line, but edge rusher is relatively where he plays. The two things that really jump out to me is sacks and hurries. It was a huge jump from 4 to 13 and 18 to 43 in this one. And then you look at the comparables as well, off the charts as well for everything altogether in this one. And if you look at the grades by game, his only bad game was week 1 of the season versus West Virginia, and he didn't really look back. I mean, the other one you can really point out is Minnesota week 13, but was really solid after that. No doubt about that, especially into the playoffs and the Big Ten championship game as well. So you look at, of course, the analysis. If you want to look at that, the left-hand side is Micah Parsons as his comparison. And then as well as the first look, if you do care about that size, 6'3", 252, just turned 21 years old, so still a relatively young prospect, of course. And for Abdul Carter, what does he bring to the table if Cleveland takes him? This would no doubt be, off the bat, one of the best edge rushing duos, and potentially could be already halfway through the season or at the end of the year, the best pass rushing duo in the NFL with Myles Garrett. For me, Abdul Carter has potential of already being a Pro Bowl player in his rookie season, just because of having Myles Garrett on the other side. It will not surprise me either if he was a double-digit sack season in his rookie year. That's how much I do believe in Abdul Carter, and that's a huge analysis for a comparison to Micah Parsons. Because if you told him that, hey, you're going to Micah Parsons, that would be immense to them. That would be a huge difference maker on the defensive side compared to alongside Myles Garrett. Because outside of that, they have decent players, no doubt about that on that line, but it's a huge drop off. And having Abdul Carter with that one, scary to think that there's someone close to it, to Myles Garrett. And I don't want to put too much praise on Abdul Carter or overhype him as much. And already saying he is Myles Garrett, but it would have someone alongside Myles Garrett be much closer to his if I would say stance or his ranking as well. So you look at that, and this would be, again, amazing 1-2 duo. And it'd be very difficult for defenses to game plan. Because right now it's the typical just double team or triple team. Myles Garrett will deal with the rest. When you have Abdul Carter on the other side of the ball, you can't really do that. You can't double team both the guys. I mean, it just, at some point, someone's going to be left one-on-one. I still believe they will, of course, at that point, will still double team Myles Garrett and leave Abdul Carter one-on-one. And that, to me, that's where he's going to, I think he'll no doubt flourish in that one, and he'll be a game rocker for that. So that's arguably one of the toughest defensive lines to face in the NFL when he comes out. As well as you look at the division that they're in, they are facing tough quarterbacks. You just look at right off the bat with the Baltimore Ravens and Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, we all know, is a very difficult player to tackle, certainly when he gets off script or he starts running. So having someone like that alongside Myles Garrett to try and contain Lamar Jackson will be huge for Cleveland Browns to try and succeed, control him, and ultimately try and win the game 2 times a year or potentially 3 times a year if they meet in the playoffs. So you have that. You have Joe Burrow, who is you can really take full advantage of with that, and they've kind of had their number for the last few years, and have given them difficult times. So you add Abdul Carter to that formula as well, on top of a shaky offensive line. That would be immense for them, and that would be kind of a huge nightmare for Joe Burrow and what he's going to be able to do. and we'll see what they put all their money into the wide receivers with T. Higgins and Myles Garrett. I don't know what they're really going to do with the offensive line. And they have to worry about the defensive line as well with Hendrickson. Who knows what's going to happen with that? So you have to find a replacement or at least have someone alongside them or anyone on that defense whatsoever. So that's going to be a vulnerable spot right there as the offensive line. And both those guys will take full advantage of that. And if you want to throw in the Pittsburgh Steelers as well, as of right now, they have Mason Rudolph, which is a okay quarterback. Nothing to worry about. If you want to throw in, hypothetically, if Aaron Rodgers ever decides to sign with a team and he goes to Pittsburgh, then you have another tough quarterback to face in that one as well. So you're looking for the Browns standpoint. They are, to me right now, the worst team in the division. Even with the Steelers and their problems, the Browns are just more dysfunctional at this point because they have a ton of question marks on there, especially the quarterback position as well as the Steelers. But the Steelers every year always find a way to win 10 games and make the playoffs somehow, as opposed to the Browns where it's, if you want to say last year was an anomaly for having 5+ quarterbacks start and somehow make the playoffs. You have that, but that's not going to happen. Or, sorry, 2 years ago, I should say, with that. You're not going to have that. Last year was a huge disaster with Deshaun Watson being in the lineup again, and then when he got injured, and then Jameis Winston took over, as well as Dorian Thompson-Robinson when he did start. So you have that. You have to have game wreckers, game changers, and that is what Abdul Carter brings to the table defensively to try and slow down the offense and give whoever is going to be starting, Kenny Pickett or whoever you want to throw in there, the opportunity to try and win games and kind of be a grudge match in a way for that. So that's what Abdul Carter brings to the table, is that if you really want to have one of the best defensive lines in the NFL and really disrupt the offensive line, and we saw that, that was the key to Eagles winning against the Chiefs. They just really controlled the line of scrimmage and kind of dictated what Patrick Mahomes could do. And if you want to replicate that and you have those two guys on the edge on each side of the defensive line, that's huge. And you could certainly wreck games for Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and whoever's going to be the quarterback for the Steelers. That would be immense, no doubt about that, and that will get you maybe at times steal some wins throughout the whole year with that. So that's why I can understand why the Browns would want to go to the Abdul Carter route. And I had him going on. I had Abdul Carter early in the process going to Cleveland because of just the uncertainty with Myles Garrett. I kind of threw that out there more of just the insurance policy. If you decide to trade Myles Garrett, you have your next Myles Garrett up and coming with Abdul Carter. If not, then you have both you have both the pairings up there. So I will admit I did have early on for at least I think a couple mock drafts. I did have Abdul Carter going to the Cleveland Browns because I understood the thought process of why you wanted to do that. Again, the only thing that you have to really be worried about, or the only knock on him really right now, is just the foot injury. I don't really put too much stock into there. I'm not too worried about it, but again, teams are to a certain point, so that is an issue, no doubt about that. So now we're going to talk about the other guy that has not really mocked up too much to the Cleveland Browns. I've seen maybe a little bit more and more, and the guy I put in for my latest mock draft. That's, again, if you go to @SportsBrewers for my Twitter page, it's pinned on the top post there, so you can see my mock draft 5.0, and you see where I put these two guys. I did have Travis Hunter in this one going to Cleveland. And this guy is, I don't want to say that much better than Abdul Carter, but he's on another level as well. He is quite an anomaly. You look at for what he did this season, and it's very tough because you have to compare both the stats, offensively and defensively. I mean, he is such a freaking athlete, an anomaly of what he can do. It's insane. And same thing for him, too. He kind of jumps off the board here. The only thing I'm maybe a little bit concerned about is the completion percentage with the 56.1%. And you look at for the grades per game, there are some you kind of point out there, and it's a little iffy, like 50.3 on Week 7 against Kansas State. You look at in the last game of the year versus BYU, 50.8, 62 against Utah, 62.3 against Arizona, 66.3. If you want to chalk it up because it's the first game of the year, like against North Dakota State. So it's not as bulletproof overall or looks as good as compared to Abdul Carter. But again, doing a little bit more on certainly on a worser team than what Abdul Carter was on. So you look at on the left-hand side here for the snaps, he was only covering his cornerback status. We will get to ESPN and show you the receiving status for him as well. But he only allowed 23 receptions at 41 targets for 222 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions, and a 39.9 passer rating. He lined up relatively all over the place. He played a good amount in the slot, mostly on the outside boundary, 8 in the box, 2 in the deep, 0 in the D-line. So very versatile, where you can put him all across the board in terms of the cornerback positions and the layouts, as well as Again, if you look at the advanced stats here as well, nothing really pops out entirely. Not like a top 5, top 10, or anything like that, but good stats. So 4 sack completions, 8 drop interceptions, only at 1 missed tackles, and at 6, which is pretty good. Coverage stops was 11th, and average depth of target was 7.9. If you look at the analysis, and this is kind of the thing that really jumps out to you, is there is no comparison because he is a anomaly. He is. I don't think we've ever really seen someone like that before. We've seen people that have play on both sides of the ball. If you want to kind of just do the lazy comparison of just like Deion Sanders, you could say that. But to me, he's going to play a lot more offensive snaps than Deion Sanders. If you want to throw in maybe Charles Woodson coming out, that certainly could be a possibility. But again, didn't play as much offensive snaps as them. So there really is no true comparison of what he was able to do. There is some closer ones, but again, for that one, it's very difficult to try and pinpoint someone exactly. So there's the pros and cons on the screen there, as well as the first look, 6'1", 185, really good size, no doubt about that. And then showing you the offensive stats for this one. So in 2024, he won the award for best receiver, 96 receptions for over 1,200 yards, which are 1,258 to be exact, 15 touchdowns. I mean, it's insane of how dominant he was this past year, offensively and defensively, and that's why there's such a dilemma of when he comes out, what is he going to play? He is right now set his eyes on corner, which a lot are for some NFL teams look at him as a wide receiver, and he entered the combine as a corner. So again, that is a tough dilemma of how many snaps is he going to play offensively. And when you listen to people on the radio for Sirius XM or whoever you listen to. A lot of people just want him to play wide receiver because it's just the more exciting. It's the more appealing. It's the more money for him long term, the more fame. So you have that. It's more of a selfish thing for all of us, just for entertainment-wise. We want to see him play wide receiver because he is elite at it. He has high potential of being one of the best wide receivers in the NFL from what he can do. And it was a huge jump in production from his second year in Colorado compared to his first year with 57 receptions, 721, 5 touchdowns. He blew out all those stats altogether in that one. So that's what makes him so unique. And he could play, again, the cornerback at a high level, too, when he did a collegiate level. And I know now about that, whatever position he picks, we'll say full-time, if he had to pick one or the other, he will excel at either one. But again, I just don't know how many snaps you play per game for him. That's the only concern. It's just because of the wear and tear, the injury risk, how much you really put him out there week in and week out for both the snaps. I mean, of course, his main position is going to be corner. It's just a question of how many offensive snaps he's going to play. Or if he wants to shock everyone and say, you know what, I want to play the most of the time, or if not all my time, on wide receiver, no one would bat an eye about that. So what does Travis Hunter bring to the table like we talked about? To me, he fills more voids than Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter is more of just a fantasy pick, if you want to call it. I don't know how to really describe it. It's just not necessary. It's not a need. It's just, you take Abdul Carter because if you view him as the best player available and he's there, you take him. What Travis Hunter brings to the table is, you look at the offensively, they really don't have any receivers outside of Jerry Jeudy, and I'm not too sold that he can replicate what he did last year. We have over 1,200 yards receiving. I don't know if he made the Pro Bowl or not. He may have, but you look at that, and he had career highs all across the board. He took a huge jump in his career in his first year at Cleveland. I just am worried that he can replicate that. I'm not so certain he can. So at the best case scenario, you have one iffy receiver. If not, you have nobody still. So you can have him come in and be a complementary piece to Jerry Jeudy on how many snaps you want to put in per game, and be a great receiver. I mean, Travis Hunter, if he comes to this team, is already the best receiver on this team, and he's not even a full-time wide receiver. I think that either speaks of how highly Travis Hunter is a prospect, or just shows you how poorly the Browns have for the receivers, depending on how you look at it, or it could be a combination of both. But you have that part of it where you have more offensive help if you need it, with Travis Hunter pair alongside Jerry Jeudy. You do have David Njoku as well, who's just been a solid tight end throughout his career. I don't think nothing too special, but has been a good tight end as well. So that would help. At this point, Kenny Pickett is all signs right now point towards that. I mean, I hope for their sake that they do something a little bit more. Not, I won't say as far as Kirk Cousins, but maybe they'll ride with Kenny Pickett. Who knows at that point? So you have that for the offensive side. For the defensive side, it is a great complementary piece to Denzel Ward, or if not, your replacement for Denzel Ward because of the injury history, especially the concussions. I'm worried for his sake, for his health, where he's going to be long term. And is it safe for him to keep continuing playing? In terms of concussions, we always look at Tua. He's kind of the poster child of the concern for concussions, obviously, because of the position and just more of the bigger coverage for him and what some of the games he's been in, especially that Thursday night game, that of course being the primetime game against Buffalo. That was a big night. 2 years prior to that, in 2022, he had the back-to-back games where he we all presume that he got a concussion. Miami did say that for sure against Matt Milano for his hit. And soon after, I think it was another Thursday night game, a few days later against Cincinnati, he takes another big hit, gets another concussion. So he's kind of the poster child right now, the main face of the concerns of concussions, but Denzel Ward is up there. I mean, maybe a lot of people may not know that, but he does have a fair share of amount of concussions as well since entering the league in 2018, and there is quite concerns about that. He is an absolute phenomenal corner. He's one of the best out there in the NFL when healthy, but unfortunately, with the injury risk and just the long-term concerns for him that I just don't know how much he has left. And if he wants to keep playing, of course, it's his choice, it's his life, he has to live it. And if he's comfortable with that, with the risk, then all power to him. But I just don't know how much longer he has because of that. So you either have similar to, I guess, Abdul Carter. You have a contingency for Denzel Ward, or if not, you have probably one of the best cornerback duos in the NFL. So for me, that's what Travis Hunter brings to the table. I think he brings much better. I think much more, if you even care about this, spotlight, much more draw to you, to your team, to your watching the games, because it's a bigger name player there, someone that we all want to see. We all want to see what Travis Hunter does in the NFL. So it brings the fame, it brings the eyes more to Cleveland. If you care about that, that is another part of it as well. So for me, ultimately, what do I think? And it's kind of tough to answer to answer the question, rightly, because you could break it down in two things of what I want and what Cleveland wants. To me, maybe it's kind of me lying to myself and just trying to convince myself of this. What I want is Travis Hunter. That is my pick and what I believe is the better option for this one. Again, I think a more versatile player than Abdul Carter and fits better needs and more voids on the roster as opposed to Abdul Carter. There's not much of a need for edge rusher for the Browns as opposed there is for wide receiver or corner. I think they just need playmaker. They need game changers. They need someone that is an instant impact player, and both these guys, are no question about that, are capable of doing that. And I don't think there is no relatively wrong answer if you did decide to go with Abdul Carter. I'm not going to be upset or say, wow, they really made a horrible pick here, or vice versa for Travis Hunter. Wow, they really made a horrible pick passing on Abdul Carter. You can't go wrong with both these guys. I think it's just more of what you need. And you look at for needs for Football Focus, Travis Hunter fits that. They need wide receiver and corner. There is no edge rusher on there that they need. So he automatically fits 2 out of the 5 needs that they have. So to me, that is the more ideal, more logical pick going down that route. Is that what Cleveland will do? I'm not sure. I mean, for me, for this one, I'm going to pin Travis Hunter right off the bat here. And, it's just of course, everything else is computer generated. Don't really put, too much into it. So you have that. And again, it's for me, my choice would be Travis Hunter. And that's what I said in my Tennessee Titans video a couple months ago. Go with Travis Hunter. He is a potential generational player. And I do view him more highly than Abdul Carter. It's not a disrespect to Carter itself. To me, I just view Travis Hunter as an ultimate chess piece, and he is just something that we have never really seen before. Again, there are shades of that. Charles Woodson, Deion Sanders are playing both sides of the ball. Some of them being at the NFL level, some at the collegiate level. But in terms of the amount of snaps, the amount of dominance that Travis Hunter could do at both sides of the ball, it's something we've never seen before. Like you saw for the comparison, there is no comparison. And to me, that is something where there is maybe a risk because of that, because we've never seen that before. But at the same time, that should be exciting because you've never seen that before as well. And to me, that is just something that's too tough to pass up at this point from what he can offer you and what he can do for this offense. And this team in general, I should say. So for me, again, to wrap it up once again, I would pick Travis Hunter over Abdul Carter. I don't know if they will do that ultimately when it gets to April 24th, but that's my pick. So we'll see what happens on draft night, April 24th, what they're going to be doing with the second overall pick.